Okay, so review of last time, right? So we basically got through 1.5 psukim. Is that accurate, right?
Yeah.
So I'll move, blocking a little bit. Why is he called Koheles according to Metzudas David?
Because he's the
gatherer of a different idea, like clashing ideas.
Right, clashing ideas, right? And then why is all all that information mentioned in the first pasuk? Right, so it's Koheles ben David melech b'Yerushalayim.
So you know that he had the ability, that he was able to properly do the 3 different types of ways of discerning truth.
Right, which were
pitting bad ideas against good.
Right, or at least opposite ideas against each other to figure out which one's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Hearing from Haman.
Right. Especially father, right? Because he cares about giving the good stuff over.
Being like experimentation.
Right. Right. So what does that have to do with the pasuk then?
So Koheles is the first one.
Right.
Ben David means that he learned from Chacham, who is his father.
Right.
And Melech B'Yerushalayim is that he is able to really test things well.
Right.
He's in a position of being able to being a melech meant that he could test things to like the Amud.
Right. So he's the king. He has access to all of the kingdom as his observation chamber, as his like laboratory, and it's also a city of Chachamim, right? Yerushalayim. So like you're going to have reliable gatherers of experience to like give you your data. Yeah. Okay. Oh, we got Isaiah. Okay. So then we did. So then there was his creative shot of Havel Havalim Amor Koheles Havalim Kol Havel. So what was his reading?
That Havel is a verb.
Verb. Right. So you should havel the havalim, which he said, Metzudas ציון said havel means nothing, right? So yes, the word means nothing, borrowed from vapor. It's like davar she'ein bo mamash, and then the verb is you should treat it like nothing. So havel havalim amor koheles, treat nothingness as nothing. And then what's the rest of it?
The vapor, nothingness. The nothings that are all nothing.
Right, which implies
not the ones that are partially.
Not the ones that are partially nothing, right? So you should hevelize. I'm going to use the word hevelize because I think that's how you would do it in English.
Yeah.
So you should hevelize the hevels that are entirely nothing, but the hevels that are not entirely nothing you shouldn't hevelize, and the hevels that are not entirely nothing is because something good or proper can come from them, right? So we kind of were left with the question of what is he talking about? Right, like what does it mean that there are things that are nothing and like things that are entirely nothing and things that are like, ooh, I just got a nice cool breeze. Oh, it's not the breeze, it's the, oh, it just came on. Oh, it's so good. Okay, that's the good kind of hevel. Right, so should we stop and speculate? Like, what does he mean? Like, let's just reread it again, his description here, right? Because he says, Rosh Lamar Bezeh HaSefer, we're in Pasuk Beis. Amar Koheles Livnei Adam V'Yisrim L'Hahavil U'L'Hamis as a Havalim. So it's not even. I don't think we even caught that last time. I mean, we translated it. It's not just to treat as nothing, but it's to like reject or despise. L'Hamis, right? Ma'us, make it disgusting. Treat it as disgusting. V'Chozer Mefarsh Amar Havel es Havalim Masha Hakol Havel Asher B'Shum Oven Lo Yitzmach Mehem Tachlis Roi V'Yakar. That in no way will there emerge something that is proper and valuable. Yeah. And then he also says, so that's a third adjective. The havalim that will bring about in the end something that is beneficial, it is not proper to havelize them and treat and be reject them. Because you'll find something good and beneficial in them. Yeah.
The fact that he says tov and mo'il makes me think that this is not just like an ultimate good type thing, but also a practical thing.
Right, mo'il definitely implies practical.
So let's say like doing your job is not an ultimate good.
Right.
I don't know if it would be classified as tov, but That does fit into the category of moil, because then you can sustain yourself.
Right. Okay, so now that raises a new question, which is, doesn't it then depend on why you're engaging in certain things? Like a job, in other words, like in the case of a job, right? So if a person, is just engaging in a job for money or for kavod or whatever it is, so then that would be like a hevel that is entirely hevel. But if you're doing it in order to get money to use it for something that's worthy, then it's good. So, but the way he phrases it is, it's like there's categories of things, like despise the things that are hakol hevel and not the things that are only partially hevel. You see what I'm saying? Or not?
Yeah.
Right. So that's problematic because really anything could have a ultimately good use or be beneficial. I mean, not anything, maybe not avodah zarah, but like you can't just say categorically you should reject money, or you should reject like pleasure, or you should reject,
Can't you attribute the practical value to anything?
Right. Exactly. That's what.
Avodah zarah. To be my little paperweight.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So maybe even avodah zarah. Right. Yeah. So that's the problem with that approach. Is I agree with you that it sounds practical. Then once you enter into the realm of practicality, then it seems like as long as you're using it as a means to something that's good, so then there's not going to be anything that's in the definitive category of mashal kol havel.
Matt?
Yeah.
I would say in terms of ideas, you can have ones which are completely hevel, like or like don't have any good use to them because they're just a bad idea.
Right, that's also true. Although I don't know how much we want to bring in the chazal into this, but there's that chazal that we just read last time of the tachas hashemesh and lamala me hashemesh, and I feel like again I don't know if we should take that into account now, but I feel like lamala me hashemesh. What was it?
Is it kodem?
Yeah, kodem. I think Rashi says lamala. Yeah, kodem shemesh. But what does Rashi say? Yeah, I guess we'll find out. Well, whatever the lashon is. I mean, I feel like ideas would be in that category, So maybe that's not even something he's making a statement about. All right, so let's go on and see let's see. Yeah, go.
Can you say it is useful to talk about just whatever single level level if you're talking about the objective itself?
Say again?
Can you say it is useful what was the word you used to describe it?
Mo'il. Tovin Mo'il.
Can you use that to describe an objective itself?
An objective?
Yeah, not as means as an objective.
Hard to do that, right?
Fame, let's say.
Right.
Let's say fame is temple.
Right.
Well, I guess
Right. Once I mean, it's hard. There's definitely hierarchies of objectives, right? But like, in order to call it mo'il or eno mo'il, you're gonna have to be talking about it as a means to something else.
Yeah.
Are you saying though that like? No, I'm not sure. All right, let's read on and get a little bit of a bigger picture here from the Metzudas. Okay, so then the next pasuk we're on Gimel, right? Ma yisron la'adam b'chol amalo she'yamol tachas hashamesh. So what gain or advantage is there for man in all of his toil that he toils under the sun? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's something about the way the pasuk is that like makes me want to break it up differently than it actually is.
Like how?
I don't like intuitively I guess I would read it. Ma yisron la'adam b'chol amalo she'yamol tachas hashemesh.
I mean, that's kind of how it's broken up, right?
Well, this stuff is Adam.
Ma yisron la'adam. Oh, you mean you're saying continuing from la'adam to b'chol malo? I didn't quite catch that in your voice. Yeah. Ma yisron la'adam. Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Don't know what to make of that. I mean, because it is saying that grammatically.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So what are the questions here? Yeah, what's the yisron? I mean, I feel like this is the same kind of question we asked about the mo'il. Yisron means advantage. Once you talk about advantage, you're talking about advantage for something or advantage in some framework. So what exactly what lack of advantage is he bemoaning? Like what is he expecting to find, and then why is he not finding it? And then the toiling under the sun, also not quite clear what that is. That just general reference to all human activity, or is that like a specific type of endeavor?
Why is he limiting it to toiling anyway? Like maybe there's benefit from other things that man, just like from man being there.
Right. He could just say Ma Yisrael La Adam Takas Shemesh. Right? Yeah. So what's the emphasis on toiling?
Well, I mean, that could go back to Izzy's question. At least from Adam, and then stop.
Right. Yeah, but then how do you fit in the B'chol Amalo Shem Lo Takas Shemesh?
This is a pasuk.
Entirely separate pasuk. Yeah. All right, so let's look at Metzudas and see what he gives us to work with here. Okay, so we have we do have Metzudas Tion. So Yisron, he says Milashon Mosar v'Revach. Okay, so Mosar, how do you translate Mosar?
Addition.
Yeah, surplus I think is good, right? Addition or excess, right? So that's different than it says Mosar and Revach and profit, right? So it's not what gain is there. Gain is more broad. Mosar means you already have enough and then you have extra, and same thing with profit, right? Is that you have profit is what you have, beyond like, what you expended or beyond like what your investment is.
Right.
So what profit is there for man in all his toil that he toils under the sun?
This is implying that like he tries to like make some sort of like gain against something, because like Revach, for example, profit you're going against what you put in.
Right. Meaning there has to be. So the question is, what sets the framework by which he's measuring the profit? Yeah.
Matt,
Right. Yeah.
I mean, what is he really asking? Like, people make profit all the time to make money.
Right.
To get pleasure.
Right. I mean, it's not literally what profit is there, right? Like you're saying, like people make profit all the time, right? So even this needs to be qualified. Okay, and then takas hashemesh is b'makom hashemesh. So not dafka like at high noon, takas hashemesh, right? But like in the place where the sun shines, meaning like Earth, I guess, right? The terrestrial realm. Okay, so then Metzudas David now. Let's see this, and then we'll then go back to our pasuk. So Ma Yisron. Ele divrei Koheles shepasach va'amar. So these are the words of Koheles that he introduced, or he began with and said. Okay, I don't know why he's saying that. Does he mean that like the first two pasukim were intro, and then this is where like he's starting his thing? Sounds like it, right? Yeah. Mahu harevach habal adam b'chol ha'amal sheyamol b'davar. I gotta scroll. B'davar hanasun tachas memshelas hashemesh. So what profit is there in the? It's so frustrating. I'm just gonna get a paper version. What profit is there in? Just one second. Where are we? Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah. Mahu arevach habal adam. What profit is there that comes to a man b'chol ha'amal in all the toil that he toils? B'davar tachas hanasun tachas memshelas hashemesh, in a matter that was given under the dominion of the sun. V'hi amal asifas hakinyanim hamasur biyad hamarechas hashmayim. Okay, so now that's something specific, namely the toil in the gathering of possessions, which is given over into the control of the heavenly systems. Right, so he's talking specifically about amassing property or possessions. Okay, and he's saying that tachas Hashem. I mean, this is kind of different than he said, but makom Hashemesh, but things that are like under the laws of nature, right? Marachas Hashmayim. He says v'zachar Hashemesh lefi shehi hapoeles harbe b'tachtonim ugdolahi mikulan, and he says sun because it exerts a great influence on the lower things, and it is greater than all of them or bigger than all of them. L'chein Tikra Malkas Hashemayim Milashon Melucha. Therefore, it's called the Queen of Heaven. See, I didn't know that. I heard the Queen of Heaven was worshipped back then, but I didn't know the Queen of Heaven was the sun. U'kamoshin Amar leketer lemalchas Hashemayim. Right, so they offered incense to the Queen of Heaven. U'omer mahu hatoeles be'elu hakinyanim. So he's saying, what is the use or what is the beneficial outcome of these possessions? Halo lamahar yamus ha'osfam v'lo yikach ma'uma biado. Won't he die tomorrow and not take any of them in his hand? Okay, so that's a solid question. Okay, yeah, we'll get to that in a second. O tachas Hashemesh rosh lamar b'zeh olam b'makom zrikas Hashemesh. So that's what he said for the Metzudas Tion. Or it means not under the dominion of the forces of nature, of which the sun is the biggest one, but rather in the place where the sun shines. Ma revach yesh b'ha'amal sheyamal bo le'asaf kinyanim. So I don't think that's a different idea. I think that's just like two different ways of framing the reading the Tachas Hashemesh.
The rest of this commentary also still in the parentheses?
Say it again?
It says the rest of this commentary also.
That is funny.
Mine has a closing parentheses.
And you were saying we found a fault in the Torah's Chaim? That can't be.
Or this is the fault.
Oh yeah, that must be. Yeah. Or he's trying to demonstrate that like you just can't get that like last parenthesis. Yeah. Okay. So that now is the central question. So what profit is there? And he's saying basically what good does it do you if you can die and you can't take it with you? Right. So I feel like we have to confront the elephant in the room, which is it does you the good while you're alive. Like so. End of story. Like you don't need the book. You know. So like, yeah. So what's his real question, or what's his real problem with this? You know.
Or you could say it doesn't do good because ultimately it's taken from you, so it's a net nothing.
Right. So let's say though that like, I guess okay. Given the framework that being alive is a good thing, okay, and maybe he's going to question that. So like, you can buy food and eat, and that's good. And like, yeah, you can't take it with you, but like, you're alive.
Well, what he's saying is lemachar yamos, like literally lemachar means tomorrow. But I think is he not getting to the point that like time, like life is so ephemeral that.
See, but then that's not what he says though, right? He's saying like, he's not questioning the value of life right now. He's questioning the value of possessions, given the fact that your life is going to come to an end. Or
soon. Yes, but rather soon.
Right.
Does lemachar not mean like a?
No, I mean I don't know if lemachar means soon, but it means like in the future or it possibly tomorrow. You know. But you see what right. So like if you were to question what is the like. In other words, if you're going to say what you were saying just now, then there would be a very easy explanation of the pasuk, which is what can man accomplish with his life? We wouldn't have to go on the route of possessions and benefit of possessions. But he's saying, what profit do I get from my possessions, given the fact that I'm going to die and I can't take it with me? And I'm saying, well, you can use it and like live life. And whatever other value, whatever other value you're assuming there is in life. Let's say if you say life is about physical enjoyment, so you can spend the money on physical enjoyment. If life is about Torah, you can spend the money on Torah. If you're like,
but still, you could say this is addressing the person who's about to die, literally tomorrow, and they have profit right now.
Right.
So they worked harder than they made.
Yeah.
And now they're about to die, and they're not going to have any of that.
Okay. So if you take that approach,
meaning they're not doing it for like people aren't gathering possessions for pragmatic reasons. Like, and given that, then like they're gathering it for functionally no purpose if it's not for pragmatic.
Is that the same thing that you're saying, Ezra, or you're saying something different?
I am saying that like they are working in futility because they're not benefiting from the rebel.
Isn't that just circumstantial? Meaning that for one day of this guy's life, meaning the last day, then there's not going to be a profit. But for the other thousands of days,
yeah, that's my own thing. But the whole, I guess there's no way to calculate which day you're going to die. So there's no way to know if you have a profit that's necessary and unnecessary profit. Okay, so that's more of a concrete thing. So does that work then? So then, what would be the question according to that? I mean, you're running away from the pasuk, but you don't know when you're going to die, and so you don't really know what you're doing, if it's worth it or not. Yeah, see, I feel like that is an idea, but I feel like that's not what he's saying, right? Because like that's and you're reading a lot into the lamachar thing, right? Like I just thought lamachar meant like either it feels like it comes quickly. Right, like hayom kan lamachar bekever or whatever that saying is, or lamachar means it could be tomorrow, not that this is addressing specifically like the guy on his deathbed, like saying like, what did I, gain this for? Especially because the book is seemingly, because the book is supposed to have an impact on like the way we live. I feel like the question has to be broader to encompass like that, and that's why when he says it's about the pursuit of material things, I feel like it's the question of should I spend my life trying to make profit from,
from my business endeavors or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think also, if he was saying that, if the point was that you might die tomorrow, then that would be like a reasonable thing for him to have said.
Yeah.
Then, this is not going to be good to live off forever because you might die today. Like,
right.
No, I don't mean like he might die tomorrow. I'm saying like, you're not able to calculate how much extra you make.
Right.
Because like you're always.
we also have to say
You're right, because he's saying that even if whatever you did have extra, you wouldn't be able to take it with you. Right. Yeah. See, the thing that seems to be bothering him also is that, in other words, what if you could take it with you, right? So then you'd be happy, right? So the fact that like everything that you invest in it doesn't have a permanent gain, is that part of the problem?
Yeah.
Is that different than what we were saying before, or is that the same? Like in other words, like there's two things, right? I don't know if this is two things or not. There's the problem of I did all this work and now I don't get to enjoy it, right? That's like one way to frame it. The other way is like I'm gonna last forever in the sense of like, again, I'm kind of assuming he's working in a Torah framework here, right? Like, or maybe not, I'm not sure, but like I go on and I can't take anything with me, like. Like when he says I can't take it with me, that like, is he just using it as a figure of speech, or does he mean like, in other words, like that doesn't seem to be bemoaning his own mortality. It's bemoaning the fact that his money can't benefit him beyond the grave, Yeah,
so it seems to me like he's talking more about the pursuit of gathering wealth not for like a functional purpose. Like, let's say you amass like let's say like $20 million.
Yeah.
So now you've got, let's say that's like enough that you definitely won't need to acquire any more money for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You just live off of that. But if you keep on like amassing more and more, and it's not, then it's not doing you any practical good, because it's not gonna, people. There's a phenomenon of people amassing wealth or possessions in not for a pragmatic purpose, but to have more.
Right.
And so he's saying having more, it doesn't, like, if it's not that you're using it for something,
Yeah.
or getting benefit out of it, then it's just a waste, because it's you don't get to keep it.
Yeah.
And you don't use it.
Okay, so that's a good way of framing it. Ezra, are you thinking of the same scene that I am?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So
I was also because of that though. I'm also thinking like, can you give it to your kids? Like,
right. Yeah. So let's just spell it out. Right. Is there was once a man who was dying of cancer, and he found a way to make money that involved a lot of work, a lot of toil, and a lot of risk. And when he made his first big sum, when he was still in the parking lot ish, he did a bunch of calculations as to how much is he going to need to support his wife and to pay his two kids way through college. And he said, okay, this is the amount I need to make, and that's it. Now obviously you can extend it to like, well, what about my grandkids? What about this? But like, let's say like the immediate people in his vicinity that he cares about, he could also adopt 10 kids and like support them also. So, but the people who he already cares about. So in terms of working to provide enough for him and for them, anything beyond that would be the profit that he was talking about, which toil would be for nothing because he can't take it with him and it's not doing any good for like himself or his immediate family. Yeah.
Why is that any different? The stuff that he can pass on to his kids to give for their kids to college, why is that any different than?
Okay, good. So
what is not yours? Once
Right.
you're dead, then like, why do you care if it's your kids?
Right, that's also true. Yeah. Okay, good. But see, what I like about this move though is that this at least is I don't know why we didn't have this before, or maybe we didn't. I just didn't realize it. But like that's that line we were looking at by which we can measure profit, right? So like my needs, or let's say my family's needs, and then talking about future family that's not born yet, that's already a different thing, because who knows what's going to happen or whatever. And he is going to deal with that. Like he's going to deal with the fact that like your legacy that you pass on. Like what if it gets messed up by some future person who squanders it or whatever, Yeah. So then hasn't he, going back again, so then isn't this question like kind of the end of the story then? So what benefit is there in the profit that you get? None. So then don't try to make that profit.
He doesn't say that. I mean, it's very implied, but like.
Right.
He's not saying don't do it. He's just saying like doesn't have to do it.
Right, but isn't the implied thing of like if he's characterizing, maybe this is where the amel comes in, right? Let's say it wasn't amel. Let's say it was fun.
Right.
So then you should do it. But the fact that it's amel that doesn't get you anything, then the implication is you shouldn't do it. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then that's the answer to the question. And what does this have to do with the Hevel Havalim?
Wait, ציון and Yisron is what?
So Yisron is profit, material profit, and we're judging material profit by whatever is beyond. Right now we're saying tentatively your needs during your lifetime and the needs of your family.
But what's the need though? Is having a yacht a need or?
No, we are not defining a need, right? But I guess that would be part of the question. I mean, there's a conception.
There's what you're assessing you want to like spend money on, and then that's like a separate conversation of whether you're making a good assessment of what what you need money for.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're like, I need $200 billion because I need like a few yachts, and like, then there's still a line.
Right.
And like then you're not seeking accumulation of profit. You're seeking particular things. You might be making incorrect assessments, but that's still an assessment of your quote unquote needs.
Right, meaning that guy and the ascetic are both going to agree that you should only make enough money of what you need, but they're just going to disagree on what is included in your needs. And it's a legitimate question, but it's not it's all within this principle that we've been saying. Yeah.
But doesn't everyone who buys too much think they need it though?
Yeah, that's one of the problems. Right. So then what you're suggesting is that maybe in principle it is easy to understand and evident, but like the devil's going to be in the details in terms of people are going to end up toiling for things that really are the type of profit that doesn't benefit you, and like they can't distinguish the difference.
Matt? So right now, are we saying the Yisron is in terms of things that a person does that they don't necessarily need them?
I say that one more time. It's a little garbled.
Are we saying right now that the Yisron is Yisron gain from things that they don't necessarily like need?
We're toying with that idea, yeah. And then we're acknowledging that there's like a lot of ambiguity in terms of what a person would need or not need.
But isn't he trying to sort of discredit every toil? He says kol ha amal.
Well, once he introduces it with ma yisron, and once he's defining yisron as profit of in amassing material possessions, that like restricts it a lot. Yeah. Okay, let's read on. Okay, I kind of want to cover his intro today. Maybe not all 11 psukim, but at least like the next set of the intro. Oops.
Are we talking into the recipes?
Oh, that's a good question.
What?
So yeah, how are we tying it to pasuk beis?
I mean, you could. This is kind of drastic. You could say that like he's like defining what a havel is, a havel person.
Yeah.
Someone who is amel bli yisro.
Havel person is someone who toils without getting any yisron. You mean, or without?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, but in terms of the way he said it, right? So let's put into his command. You should hevelize things that are entirely hevel, and not hevelize things that are hevel but that have some sort of worthy outcome.
Right.
So how do we fit that into the way we're reading the third pasuk? So the things that are entirely hevel would be the profit that you can't take with you.
Yeah.
And the hevel that does have some outcome is the amount of money that you get that does serve some purpose during your lifetime. And that's a strict definition of mo'il, like it has a benefit. Okay, right, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe in terms of what we're saying about drawing the line, maybe it's like a separate assessment of like what ways of using money are hevel or not. Like that might be a separate conversation.
Yeah.
Like, but maybe he's addressing the money that you're not spending, or that you're not making use of.
Right. Yeah, I can see that as being a possibility.
Like, it might be like a separate conversation about how spending money on a yacht is hevel, but like, it's not. But it doesn't fit into like the point that he's making over here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, dor holech v'dor bav haaretz l'olam amades. So a generation goes and a generation comes, and the earth lasts forever. So you pointed out last time, minor question of, we say comes and goes, and he says goes and comes, right? I don't know if that's just we're so used to that idiom that, you know.
Well, generation has to come before.
That's true.
So he's talking, it sounds like he's talking about two different generations.
Generation goes and then a generation comes, meaning that they don't overlap. Like one generation goes.
Well, meaning it's not the same. I don't think that.
Oh, meaning it's not. That's what you're saying. It's not the same generation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Meaning like your grandparents die and like their great grandkids are born like after or something, you know, and the earth lasts forever. Okay, great, good news. Okay, so let's. Well, what's this point? Okay, so let's see what he says here. Dor holech rotz lomar af im omnam keshador hazeh holech lamus b'makomo. Sorry. Af im onam kshador hazeh holech lamus b'mkomo, hine ba dor acher. So even if indeed this generation goes to die in its place, I don't know what the b'mkomo is there, then behold, another generation, im kol zeh, hine ba dor acher. So then another generation will come. Im kol zeh, nevertheless, ein makom lachshov la'amol v'lesov kinyanim l'hashir. My PDF is so messed up here. It's all flipped. Hold on. Lahashir. Yeah, Levanav Akhrav. Why is my PDF flipped all weird and the printout is fine? All right. Yeah, Levanav Akhrav. So there's no place to think that he should toil and gather possessions to leave over for his kids after him. Ki v'ha'aretz v'gomer, because does the land. I think it's a question, right? Does the land itself last forever? Halogam hi keneged kebeged tavala, won't it wear out like a garment? V'tamu im ken yoshveha, and all of its inhabitants will die. Ima kinyanim kulam, with all possessions. Wow, that got dramatic fast. Im ken ein zeh davar hamiskayim lad. Therefore, it is not something that will last forever. Okay, I mean that's like people who freak out when they know that the universe is going to end. You know, like what does that have to do with me?
In like 5 billion years, you consume the earth.
Yeah, right. I mean that's what he's saying though, right? He's saying the entire earth will eventually go out, and then everyone will die in all possessions. Okay, so I'm not going to plan to be there then. Like, oh.
Two things I'm noticing.
Yeah.
One, when he says door holech the door bud, I think he actually is focusing on the fact that the generation is going. That's the emphasis of the pasuk. So is that even if you think that like the door ba is whatever, I don't know exactly. I we have to discuss what exactly that means, but it's focusing on the fact that the whole part.
So are you saying that like well, I'll tell you what I think he's saying, and is this what you're saying? Mm-hmm. He's saying if my generation goes and another generation comes, so then maybe that will provide an answer to his question about like, yeah, you can't take the money with you, but the money's going to go to a good place, and then that's why he's refuting it by saying, does the earth last forever? Yeah. Right. So what? Yeah. Okay. Good. So I think that is Pshat also. Yeah. But then, so then, what's bothering him about the fact that the earth doesn't last forever? So now it's like he wants there. Now it's like he's expecting there to be some permanence in the possessions that he's gathering, right? That's a different matter.
Separate thing. I noticed that he says af im amnam kishad. Like, I don't know what he means by im in
Yeah.
this word.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know.
like maybe you're gonna live forever.
Hold on. Im kol. Wait, not im kol zeh, right? Oh, af im amnam, right?
Even if you die right now.
Yeah. Right. If this whole generation died.
What?
First one.
What?
Well, it's if,
I think that's the Bimikomo, right?
Oh, so it's
yeah, I think it's when this generation dies, another generation comes.
Yeah.
For some reason, that's not. He's saying if,
Yeah.
but he's talking.
No, so yeah.
It's going on the generation coming, right?
No, I thought it's. I thought I was reading it like af im omnam kishador hazeh holech lamus bimikomo. I don't know what the bimikomo is, but maybe it's like if they all just died out. Yeah.
Oh. No, then there wouldn't be no generation after.
No, but let's say like their kids who they left. Yeah.
Then we call them like at that like
Yeah.
prime time. Just
Right. Like yeah. I'm not sure though.
I think it's like. I would think it's like a proper way, actually, like that. Like everyone just like the entire generation dies out naturally. That's how I thought.
Yeah, I don't know what the Bimikomo is. But I want to mention something else also though, but just the word hevel, that he says is davar she'ein bo mamash, but others seem to indicate that hevel means impermanent or ephemeral. I was trying to find Sadigon. The Sadigon here doesn't say it, but I think the Sadigon in there, which I'm not going to look for right now, says it means that it doesn't last. And I also seem to recall that Ibn Ezra saying that, but I couldn't figure out where. The closest thing was in his introduction, which I didn't print in the handouts, but it's in here. So he has this line at the end of the introduction in the last paragraph when he's talking about like what the theme is of the book. He says, "V'yar Hashem Elokei Yisrael es ruach Shlomo Yedido." So Hashem, the God of Israel, awakened the spirit of Shlomo, his beloved, L'vayir divrei chayfetz u'lehoros haderech hayashara, to explain desirable words and to instruct in the right path. Okay, kol ma'aseh sheyaseh notzar lo yamod. Any action that or any work that is done by a created being will not last. Ki kol hanivraim yil'u livro etzem, because all created things weary themselves to create an etzem, to create an essence, shehu shoresh, which is a root, which I think what he means by that is like to create something that is itself is like lasting and substantial. O lahachido achi nedar, or to annihilate something till it is nothingness. Meaning, physical beings cannot actually create anything yesh me'ayin, and they cannot annihilate anything. Mortimer Adler invented a good word for that. So you know the phrase yesh me'ayin in English?
the translation.
Ex nihilo, right? So it means out of nothing. So he says annihilate would be to reduce something to nothing, and ex-nihilate would be to create something out of nothing. So God ex-annihilated the universe. It's a handy word to use, even though it's not real. So no created being can annihilate or ex-annihilate anything. Rak kol ma'asem. Oh, this is a very poetic line. Rak kol ma'asem demus utmuna umikre. All of their actions are but a likeness and an image and an accident, right, or a chance occurrence. Lahafrid mechubar or lachaber nifrad. All you're doing is separating combined things and combining separate things. Ulahaniya nach, ulahaniach na. Moving that which is at rest or causing to rest that which is in motion. Alkin kol ma'aseh b'nei adam tohu varik. Therefore, all human activity is nothing and emptiness. Ki'im yiras Hashem, except for yiras Hashem. So, like his point in this intro, at least, that's not directly an explanation of Hevel, but it's like it's making it's making like a similar outcome of what the Metzudas is saying, that but about like activities in general. You can't produce anything that will last, and you can't create anything. You can't make permanent change. You can't create something out of nothing that will be its own thing, and you can't like take something out of existence. All you're doing is moving matter around, all of your life, and why was I bringing this up? Oh yeah, because the Hevel thing, right, is that that one way of translating Hevel, which I think, can fit into the Metzudas, I don't know if this would be forcing it in, is like nothing of nothingnesses, in the sense that like nothing actually lasts. Like you can't point to it and say, this is something, because ultimately it's going to wear out. And that seems to be the problem he's bringing up in Pasuk Dalet, that even the earth and all of its possessions are just going to go away. Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to get this at a different time, but he says, Ki im yiras Hashem.
Yeah.
Why is that any different?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I mean, that's kind of why I was assuming that that he has the framework here of the existence of the soul, which is eternal, which is not material.
Then why is yiras Hashem the soul not like?
Yeah, that's a good question in general. I mean, the fact that he concludes the book with the, yeah, why yiras Hashem and not avas Hashem? Or Yedias Hashem. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. So what do we make of this then? Why is he suddenly bothered by the... So now let's just articulate the shift from what we thought before until now. So we thought he was bothered by the fact that I'm working so hard and this extra stuff is just not going to serve me in any way. But then he toys with the idea of, okay, well, maybe if I leave it for my kids, but then they and all the human race on the earth will die. So, and all possessions. That's like a different type of of being bothered. And that would seem to extend not just to the prophet, that would seem to extend to like, even the money that, I mean, I guess the money that he's using is he's getting something out of, because that's an experience,
Then what's the experience? What's the benefit to that?
Right. But the difference is that an experience by its very nature, well, I don't know if this is true. I mean, I would say experience by its very nature, like, exists temporally in time. Like, that's what makes it an experience, right?
Let's say eating.
Right. Well, I guess theoretically you would want to eat forever, but if you could. Okay, let's read the next three, because that we said would complete the 4-element cycle. This, if I remember correctly, gets a little physicsy. Yeah, in a non-accurate way. We'll see if we can salvage it. Okay, V'zarach HaShemesh, so the sun shines or the sun rises. Hine HaTochanim Chakru, so I don't know who the Tochanim are. Maybe scientists. They go in, like, toch, like with their Iyun, like they go into stuff. I don't know. They researched or they investigated Asher Hashemesh Mahalacho Ha'atzmi Bagalgalo Humi Marav Lemizrach. So the sun's trajectory or path in its sphere, into the spheres here, Hu Mimarav Lemizrach is from west to east. Ulam Galgal Hayomi Machricho Lashuv La'achorav Klape scrolling. Klape Hamarav. But the Galgal Hayomi, the daily sphere, causes it to go from east to west. Ulazet Amar, Hine Hashemesh Bihyoso Karov Lebeis Mavo. So therefore the sun, when it is close to the place of its emergence, Shokekhu Lizroach Od Alpane Hadama. It yearns to shine once more over the face of the earth. Because it clings to its path to go in its motion to the east. But against its will, it sets in its time. Because the daily sphere forces it to return, to go westward and to set. Now, yeah. I don't know what this Galgal Yomi thing is and how they. I mean, I'm picturing here they've got the Earth and they've got the celestial sphere, or the solar sphere, the sphere that the sun is in, and like I guess the Earth is going that way and the sun is going the opposite way.
I think
This is always going west.
the ninth sphere was the outermost.
Which one was?
The ninth, I believe.
The Yomi one?
Yes.
Okay.
The outermost one.
That's the one that makes everything move?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So does he mean then, but he makes it sound though that like the sphere that the sun is in wants like does have its own tendency though.
Right.
But it has a tendency to go the wrong way. Like the sun goes the west.
Yeah.
At all times.
Right.
But like, then what's the point of saying that it's trying to go east?
Yeah.
Yeah, this whole thing, even though let's say this was true scientific statement, why is this a hoax?
Yeah, that's the ultimate question I have to ask. I had an interpretation of this that's in line with our experience and understanding of the world, but I don't know if I'm taking liberties with what he's saying, because he's using this muscle of the sun yearns to shine, right? So the way I'm thinking about it is like, if you ask the sun, what do you want to do today? You would say, I want to shine, okay? And you'd say, who do you want to shine for? You'd be like, for the people. But then the thing is that the earth, when it turns, is like preventing the sun from like doing what it wants.
Oh.
What?
I mean, there are people on the other side of the world.
Right, but the fact is that if the sun's only going to be able to shine on one hemisphere at a time,
yeah.
Right?
It's always shining on people.
Right.
So it's yearning for the next type of people, and then it's yearning for the other people.
Okay, fine. If you want to be done like on like that, but I'm saying, like, I'm speaking from his perspective here, right? Is that we're trying to salvage this muscle of the sun yearning to shine, and then somehow its efforts being thwarted, you know. So I'm trying to like see if there's any way to salvage that in the method that he's doing, but like, you know,
Sorry.
Having it make sense. No, I don't know. Like I don't know. Maybe we just lose the entire thing. By the way, we're gonna stop in like 5 minutes because I want to have a break between this and the other share. Yeah.
I thought it's kind of an interesting parallel. I don't know if he's saying this, but like the way people want to have a permanence to their possessions or actions, and then they're forcibly sort of ended because reality is temporary.
Yeah. That's the vibe I get also, is that this is somehow being analogous. He's using this as an analogy. Like, we don't care. I mean, have a yearning. He's using it as an analogy for the phenomenon he was just talking about, you know?
Like, even the sun is, like, is not able to, like, fully accomplish what it's trying to do.
Exactly, yeah. Let's finish the pasuk there also. El makomo sho'ef, and to its place it yearns. Rotzelomar, v'chein b'hioso karv l'makom alo. So when it's close to the place of its rising, choshek hu lelechas el hamakom asher yatsa misham. It desires to go back to the place where it came from. Laval yizrach al pnei hadama, so as to not shine over the face of the earth. V'gaga hayomi hu hamachricho lashuv la'achor. And again, that pesky gaga hayomi forces it to go backwards. Ubal karcho zareach sham, and against its will, it shines there. B'makom shemachziro hagaga hayomi, in the place where the gaga hayomi moves it, causes it to return to. Yeah.
The gaga hayomi is so mean.
Yeah, it is. I'll just read the next two, because then we'll complete the cycle, and then we can let it sit until next week. Holich el darom. So the pasuk says, Holich el darom v'soviv el tzafon. So it's ambiguous whether this is still talking about the sun or whether it's talking about the ruach, which is mentioned later on in the pasuk. It goes to the south and it circles back to the north. Soviv holech haruach v'al shav haruach. Round and round the wind goes, and on its rounds the wind returns. So I personally like the reading of the first part talking about the wind, because then each one pasuk is talking about its own thing. Okay, Metzudas David says, Holech al daram b'yoso holech b'pas hamizrach. What does b'pas mean?
Came up like 3 times already.
Yeah, it did, right? Well, yeah. Was it mipas before? Mipas means like from. B'pas hamizrach? I don't know. Okay, in its journey, b'pas hamizrach, hine be'emes holech hu klape hadaram. In truth, it goes towards the south. B'hachrachas galgal hayomi. V'im kihu yisaviv b'galgal lahafnos klape hatzafon. And if when hu yisabiv b'galgalo, if it circles around in its rotation, lahafnos klapi atzafon, to turn towards the north.
Is it the sun?
I don't. Maybe he is saying it's the sun.
The sun does go south. No,
I
mean, sun pointed it.
Right. Yeah, that would make sense. Right. That he's talking about the sun. Yeah. Okay, and that would be something that would be perceivable back then, even. Okay.
That was a change, though, doesn't it?
I don't know. Let's see. Soviv gomer rotzelamar af shebachol pam shisabiv hu lelechas mahalacha lemachos chavtzo. Even though in each instance it circles to go on its path to the destination of its desire, lo mila tishukasa, it does not fulfill its desire. V'haratzon holech mimenu, and its willpower departs. Kiyad galgahayomi gavra alav ubato ritzano. The mighty hand of the galgahayomi negates its will. So this is definitely supporting Isaiah's approach, right? Is that it's using this as a mashal of like it's trying to do stuff and then being stopped by someone, by the galgahayomi. But its desire comes back every time. Right, every morning, right? Oh, you're right. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So how are we? So holech al drum soviv al tzafon, soviv holech haruch. Its desire goes round and round, meaning that it comes back again and again. The also soviv shav haruch, and its desire returns.
Right.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Oh, so he's not learning 4 elements.
So he's not learning 4 elements. That's the wind. Okay, last one for today. Holchim el hayam. So kol anochim holchim el hayam, hayam in maleh. Right. So all the rivers go into the sea, and the sea is not filled. El makom hashan holchim, to the place where the rivers flow. Sham him shavim lachas. There they return to flow. So holchim el hayam nimshachim hema lishpoch mimehem el toch hayam. They flow to pour out their waters into the sea. Ilu choshim lemal oso al kol. Scrolling. Is there nothing on that? Gaduso? Gadoso? What does that mean?
Space.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Oh,
So it wants to. So it's trying to fill it up, right? V'hayamin in malay, but the sea is not filled. Im kozeh in einenu ro'os she'ein hayam malay. Our eyes see that the sea is not filled. This is before climate change. V'lo yasigu im kain tolchaltam, and therefore they do not achieve their hope. So again, they're not getting what they want. Al makom. Hasibahi, the cause is she'el hamakom shanachalim nimshachim lasham hu hayam, the place where the rivers flow to there, which is the sea. Heim shavim lalachas. Hanachalim ba'atzmam chozrim misham lalachas takas arz. The rivers themselves return from there to go under the earth. El makom motza hamayim, to the place of the source of the water. V'heim heim chozrim v'noviim lamala v'shavim lalachas el hayam, and they are the same waters that flow up again and go back to the sea. So it's like a fountain, a recycling fountain. V'imkein, if so, him atman mashchisim pri machashatam. They themselves thwart the outcome of their thoughts. Umusav hu lamala lachazik amarav, and this refers above to strengthen his words. Lahamis amal kanan. Because now he's bringing it all together. So all of this serves to strengthen his point from before, to despise the toil for possessions. But omro, saying, Hine milvad she'in bahem toeles nitzchi, aside from the fact that there's no eternal purpose, there you go, so that's the type of purpose he's looking for, right? Like we suspected. Od nim sabehem davar ra, you'll also find something bad in them. Ki lo yiftach lahasigam im ha'amal pam besibas hazulas, ukeder hashemesh asher yigil larik besibas galgal hayomi, upam besibas atzmo, ukeder hanachalim asher hema ameling latohu besibas atzmam. There you go. So there's 3 problems with besibas kinyanim. It's not permanent. Even if that weren't the case, you're going to be thwarted by something outside of yourself, and then it's also self-defeating. So we're going to that's what we're going to have to define later on about what are these 3 problems with the Sfiyas HaKinyanim. Okay, good. So at least we got something davar hamoil at the end. Yeah.
we rounded it off.
Yes, we did go round and round. All right, Isaiah, are you going to the next class also, Isaiah? Or you going?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so I'm just going to leave the Zoom on. I'm just going to stop the recording. Yeah, actually, wait. No, actually, I have to stop the recording.